Good evening and welcome to Friday's Live with me, Raj Nayak. This evening on Friday's Live, we have somebody whom you would have all watched on National News Network. He's a regular there. He's a political activist, political analyst, and a social activist. He's also an entrepreneur. My guest this evening is the articulate and outspoken Tehseen Poonawala. Tehseen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you so much for having me. Thank God it's Friday because Friday live is with Raj.
Thank God. And, just to make you feel comfortable, Tehseen, unlike all your news channel debates, there's not going to be any shouting and screaming here. And you're the only person. And I'll let you talk as much as you want to talk.
Wait. It's not just news channels. Unlike Big Boss also, which, by the way, I consulted you before going. There's going to be no screaming and shouting.
Yeah, in fact, yesterday when I told my wife that you're coming on Friday's Live, she said, ask me what made him go into Big Boss? And that's a question I'll come to you.
Raj Nayak encouraged me to go on Big Boss. He was the first phone call I made. I swear, you must hear this.
Yeah. Anyway, Tehseen, people have watched you on national television. People see you. Yeah. You're almost a household name now. And yet, people know who you are, but they still don't know who you are. You know what I mean? So this chat this evening is more about getting to know you and understanding your journey. And also, obviously, I will ask you some questions on your professional life. And that's important. And that's the flow of today's evening live chat that we have. And I've brought my green tea along with me. Here it is.
I'm just waiting for my coffee.
You're waiting for your coffee? Okay, great.
Okay, Raj, so you must know one thing. मैं चाय पे चर्चा नहीं करता.
तभी तो आपके पास कॉफी है और मेरे पास चाय है. You know? Okay, Tehseen, so tell me, I mean, Poonawala, the surname, are you actually from Pune?
Yeah, absolutely. You can take me out of Pune, but you can never take Pune out of me.
Interesting. So tell me about your, basically, that's where I start from. Tell me about your family, your parents, I mean, your upbringing, your childhood. So we can start with your parents, if that's a good starting point.
That's a great starting point. I had an amazing childhood. Very fortunate. I had great parents. I have great. My father passed away when I was in school, and that was quite a little bit of a shock to me. But my mom's still there, and amazing childhood. They're very kind. They're very nice, and I think both my parents taught me empathy. I come from a family where my grandfather, and I've told very few people, but my grandparents actually served Mahatma Gandhi when he was in Aga Khan Palace in jail. So my grandfather and grandmother were serving Bapu and his wife in jail, and that's the family I come from, and very, very proud to have learned values from them.
Interesting. Yeah, sorry to hear about your dad passing away at a young age. I mean, that was tough on you, right?
Very tough, Raj. And I haven't again told this to anybody, but and I'm saying this in particular because there's a lot of news and noise now being made around depression in the news industry. And I went through a phase of depression when my father passed away. And I don't think most people understand what depression is. Raj, I've been on news channels where they say, oh, this guy was partying, how can he be depressed? Raj, I was living the most amazing life, but from inside I was depressed, and this was as a teenager, and we weren't even used to counselors then. Now today there's slightly more awareness, despite it still being so stigmatized. So I went through a phase of depression. I don't think, and I just want to put this out there because I've heard so much of wrong things about depression on news channels. So I just wanted to put this out there. No better forum than yours.
It's a good thing you're saying that, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, I know people in my circle of friends who are well educated and, they don't really take it that depression is actually a disease. I mean, it needs medical treatment.
It does.
It's not something that, people think that you do positive talking and positive thinking, and everything will change. It's good that you said that. So tell me about your schooling, your childhood, your siblings.
Schooling was in a school called St. Vincent's. It was an amazing school. It was then considered one of the best schools in Pune. And I'm very glad that my parents chose to send me to Vincent's, because what that school taught me was values. Until now, I didn't realize that my partner in school, his father worked as a peon in the school. So I think what the school instilled more than education was values. And I'm so grateful that I went to a school like that rather than one of the international schools that have now mushroomed, because I think values are the most important thing that we carried. Both my parents, my mom, even now, my father instilled a lot of values in both my brother and me. And I just hope that is something that we can take forward. At least I can take forward. For me, I think being empathetic is most important. College I did in Warriors. It's a Pune college. It's a college in Pune.
Yeah, I noticed that you're very close to your mom. I mean, I've seen it on your stories and things like that, and
Yeah.
there's something in common between us. Actually, I can see a lot of similarities. You mentioned about your grandfather serving Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
My father was a freedom fighter. He fought for this country. So,
Yeah.
so, and he also went to jail. I mean, just for your information. And
Yeah.
I've said this story many times. I feel proud uh, being his son. So tell me about your mother. I mean, you're very close to her. I mean, what was it
Yeah.
like? Was she working when you were young?
Yeah. So my mom was a simple housewife when my father passed away. And obviously, my mom had to take over the business. And I was going through an entire awkward teenage phase where, on the face of it, I had this amazing lifestyle. Like anybody who would see me would think I had this amazing life. And yet, from within, I was very, very depressed because I was very close to my father. I was actually much closer to my father. He was my best friend. Uh, I used to call him Pops, Popsy. We were very close. And so I went through this entire growing up phase without my father. And I went through this massive depression. My mom, she's been there for me. And I genuinely believe this, Raj. If instead of my father, my mom would have passed away, I don't think my father would have been able to raise two boys the way my mother raised two boys. She single handedly raised two boys. She gave us value, education, and we were bereft of nothing. That I think is phenomenal, and that's a tribute to the strength of women, the tribute to the strength of mothers. I think they're phenomenally strong. I don't think my father would have been able to do it. I don't think I would be able to do it.
That's so true that you say. Actually, when the wife dies, the husband finds it very difficult to cope with it. In most
Yeah,
cases, it is happening among the older people, and when the husband dies, the women are much stronger. I mean, let's put it that way. And yeah, I mean, great of your mom. So how many siblings are you?
so we have a younger brother. I have a younger brother, but before that, I just want to add to this. Osho's written something wonderful. He says women are physically, mentally, and emotionally stronger than men. And you always question physically, and then Osho says how many men can go through labor. And I think women are just phenomenally stronger. Statistics prove it, and various statistics, and I believe that. Though you shouldn't generalize, but I believe that. As for siblings, I have a younger brother, Shehzad, and I'm not in touch with him now. But yeah,
Interesting you said about Osho, and he said women are emotionally, physically, and mentally stronger. In fact, now I'm set up something on happiness. I'm doing something, and I'm
yeah,
doing a lot of research, and it shows that women are also more hardworking, have higher level of integrity, and more loyal. These are
we,
some such findings. It's so interesting that you said that.
yeah, that's true. And Osho was very inspired by Buddha. There's a Buddha behind you. There are a lot of Buddhas in my house. And just to give you one more data, countries that have had women leaders right now during COVID have statistically done better than countries that have had aggressive male leaders in terms of data, leaders who wanted to dominate. I think women in general are more, again, I'm using the word empathy a lot in the show, are more empathetic. I think they reach out a lot more than men do, especially dominating men.
I tend to agree. I mean, I'm a big fan
Yeah.
of the Prime Minister of New Zealand,
Yeah.
Iceland, uh,
Yeah.
uh, Germany. I mean, I can go on,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, but it's true. I mean, women leaders have always proved to be that much more stronger. Uh,
That's true.
yeah, I'm coming back to what you said. Uh, So when you were going to college, what did you want to become? Or I mean, everybody, plans to become something. Like what was your plans?
Entrepreneur. I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
And
I
and
was a,
and you're an entrepreneur now. So what exactly do you do?
so as an entrepreneur now, what I do is slightly different from what I did some time ago. I would initially run gyms, nightclubs, uh, when I was younger, also because it was more glamorous, it was more profitable in that sense. Now what I do is I invest. I invest in various businesses. I'm an investor, and it's not necessarily startup, but it could be various businesses that I like to invest in. In fact, I've even shared a couple of ideas with you, if you know. So that's something that I do, and it's doing well. So I'm glad about that.
And what made you uh, then decide to get into being a political analyst? You'd say that you're not. I remember you made a statement sometime earlier saying, "I'm not part of any political party."
That's true. I was in Delhi, and I just started meeting people. And politics is something as a child that always fascinated and attracted me. Even as a child, I would read the newspapers. I would dream of being next to politicians and seeing how they function. It's something as a child I did visualize myself doing. And when I went to Delhi, it just sort of the way just kept coming. There's nothing special that I did. And I just think that it's very important for all of us in a democracy to have a voice and to express our opinion. And that's what I do. And I think people now sort of appreciate it, and I'm grateful for that.
Then why didn't you join a political party?
Because at this moment, I think I'm not ready to join a political party. But at this moment, I still need to get my bearings right. Um, I do know for a fact who I would not join. I don't know who I will join, but I know for a fact who I will never join. So that I'm clear on right now.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you that. What I'm
No,
going to ask,
that's very true.
I'm going to ask you is, uh, do you and your brother not speak?
So that's very. So I'll share that with you. It's actually something very personal, but I'll share it with you. I have no problem with him having a different, so suddenly supporting a different ideology or a different point of view. I have a lot of friends from a different ideology, a different point of view. What I don't like is the arrogance and the disrespect that comes with it. I don't like that he makes it personal about my wife's family at times, and I think that sometimes makes it uncomfortable for me. And I just think that if that is happening, I don't like dirty linen being washed in public. I take a step back. I think he's supremely talented. I think he's an amazing kid. I think he's brilliant in speaking, and I just think he has a great future ahead. I just hope someday he'll be a little more humble. I think that's important.
So, so how does your mother take all this? I mean, how does she deal with this?
So she's split, obviously. Obviously, that's her son, and I've never told her she shouldn't speak to him. So obviously, she does communicate with him, and obviously, she does, she has a lot of feelings for him. But we come from a political family that believed in a political ideology, that worked in a political way, that has, been involved with India's freedom struggle. Both my parents, I can tell you about my father. When the call came for people to sacrifice food because India was going through a food crisis, my father would live on half an egg. So they've been through all of these political struggles as parents. So I think for them it's difficult to see the other ideology. But obviously he's a son, so she does love him.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, because it must be difficult for you, right? I mean, as two brothers and then in two political parties. I mean, not parties. I mean, different political views must be quite.
Yeah, yeah,
So
but
tell
that's
me,
life.
you just mentioned about your wife. I mean, you said wife's family. Tell me about your wife.
So my wife is Monica. I'm married to Monica, and she's an amazing person. What I really, really like about Monica, what I really love about her, is two things. She gives me a lot of space. She understands me, and again, she's taught me a lot of ethics. I think it's very important to be ethical in life, and she's taught me that. So it's something that I've learned from her. Another thing that I really, really admire her for is she's tremendously hardworking. I see her working, and she's so hardworking. Sometimes I feel she's more hardworking than I am.
So what does she do, Tehseen?
So Monica's a jewelry designer. She's into jewelry. uh, fashion jewelry, which is doing phenomenally well. Another thing that she's into is into health services right now. She expanded this way before COVID, actually September, October, and then COVID happened, so her business started doing really well. She's in the consulting line in that, and again, therefore, I'm saying because she's in the companies that she's associated with in the health services are companies that work on a different timeline. I see Monica working in the night, and I'm so impressed by her dedication. And apart from that, she's a jewelry designer, so her creativity, it's fantastic having two different set of minds.
And how did you meet?
So it's a very interesting. I actually had a TV debate, and I was coming from the PMO. Then Manmohan Singh ji was prime minister. I was at the PMO for some work, and I had to meet a common friend of Monica and mine. I didn't know Monica, and I had not met her the previous evening. So when I called her up, she said she's at the Hyatt in Delhi, and if I wanted to drop by, so I had a TV studio car to pick me up from the Hyatt, and I asked my driver to drop me to the Hyatt. That's where we bumped into Monica. I didn't know much about her then. I didn't know anything about her. We just became friends and eventually started dating, and yeah, now we're married.
Yeah, that's a nice little romantic love story there. Yeah.
Very romantic. And the most romantic part is the first evening that I met her, I cancelled my show. It was not India Today, then it was called Headlines Today. So I cancelled my show at the last minute because I wanted to spend more time. And yeah, and we got, yeah, we just hit off on the first time we met, and we've been very, very close. What's amazing about her, she's also a very close friend of mine. So apart from her being my wife, she's also my friend. So I can share ideas with her. I can laugh with her. I think that is amazing.
I think that is the success to any successful marriage. That's the formula. If your wife is your best friend, then
Yeah,
you can keep going on and on and on. And
that's true.
they will be your biggest critic, but they'll also be your biggest strength. And
That's true.
so I've also noticed that you both, when I say romantic, you also like to flaunt your relationship publicly.
Yeah, because there is this perception in if you're anywhere close to a political association, you must not flaunt your relationship. I think the reverse. I think why should people who are politically inclined, in any case, or if you're associated with a particular ideology or a party, if you are, why should you not be comfortable with being with your with your spouse or your girlfriend or whoever that may be? Today, that's changed in the film industry. We know that film industry, both actors, male and female, are comfortable being married and they're very successful. And I think that should change in the political industry as well. Film industry is of course always one step ahead when it comes to being liberal, and I think it should change here as well. Why should you be restrained?
You think in between there was a change in the political spectrum, and again people are back to having a typical personality. I mean, do you think that happened in between?
I think it's happening overall in our country. I think we are unfortunately in the reverse gear. We are slightly becoming regressive, and I think that's not healthy for us. We're a great, vibrant country, young country. I think we are slightly becoming regressive. I think that's not needed. The entire whole recent news that happened, the kind of attacks that happened on Bollywood, I thought that was very, very regressive because yoga, Mahatma Gandhi, and Bollywood. These are our three biggest identities in the world. And export wise, financially, after IT, I think Bollywood is our biggest export in the world. I think perhaps if you could calculate our film industry totally, I think it's a bigger export than IT, simply because we don't count the tourism that Bollywood brings in or the film industry brings in. So I just think that to hurt something that actually feeds people in real time was regressive.
But now, to a certain extent, it's been addressed.
Yeah, but I was shocked when I saw saw that attack. I never expected it to be so brutal on the film industry. It was more shocking for me because many members of the film industry sought to attack it, and some of it was unjustified. A lot of it could be justified, but not the kind of attacks that were made. There was a demonizing effect. I think that is not true of any industry. I'm not very experienced with Bollywood or the film industry. My experience comes from friends who've been very liberal, very nice, very kind, no matter who they've supported politically. I don't think the demonizing was fair. I think that needs to end for anything, particularly the film industry.
That's interesting. You said that. I want to ask you. I mean, being a political analyst, it's a very nice word to use, right? Political analyst.
Yeah.
But how objective are you, or do you wear a lens from a particular, or do you look at things from a particular prism, a particular lens?
So of course, we are inherently biased, and I am inherently biased against a ideology. But as an analyst, I know what may win and what may not win. For example, it was very clear who would win certain elections. So that is, in that objectivity, you're clear. You know that somebody will win, somebody will lose. But there is a bias of being against an ideology and for a particular ideology. I would say that more than the word biased, I would say I'm more attracted to something that what our founding fathers built for our country, the vision that they had for our country. I think that is what attracts me more. And I think that is what we need to preserve as citizens for future generations.
So do you follow international politics as well? I mean, have you been
Yes,
following U.S. elections?
absolutely. You saw what Mr. Trump said today. And this is not the first time he took pot shots on our country.
Second
And
time.
I've been, yeah, it's not that's what I'm saying, not the first time. In the first debate, also he said some things and that were not needed to be said about the COVID numbers. So yeah, I've been following the elections very closely, and at the moment it looks like Biden has a huge lead over him. 10 percentage points is huge.
And I was just reading this evening somewhere. They mentioned that they are also cancelling the temporary H1 temporary business visas for India. That's what I was reading. I don't know how far it's true.
That's true. Trump's not been great for India in sense of, except for photo ops for India. He's not really given anything to India substantially. President Bush did a lot. He gave us the 1, 2, 3 agreement. President Obama really went out of his way for India again, and he had a lot of respect for Dr. Manmohan Singh. He's publicly acknowledged Dr. Manmohan Singh led the world leaders through the 2008 crisis, especially with the banking sector, the double taxation agreements, and all of that. But with President Trump, India hasn't really got much, though India's gone out of its way for the United States of America. He's belittled India. He's not spoken highly of our friendship, and he's wanted to interfere in our sovereign affairs with regards to other countries. And I think that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to comment on this because I'm
Yeah,
not a
you
political.
shouldn't.
Yeah, but yeah, at this moment, at least watching the debates, and I woke up at early morning to watch today's debate as well,
Yeah,
and Biden managed to get his views across very well.
yeah. He did. And he came across as somebody who was speaking for the future. He seemed to know what he said. He seemed to have a certain amount of calmness to him. And I think that Biden will benefit with the fact that he has Obama backing him, both Michelle and Barack Obama. And people perhaps want to now go back to the Obama years where they realized that there was more stability.
Yeah, for me, the quote of the day was, "I won't speak about blue states and red states. I'm going to be the president of the United States," or something like that. For me,
That's true. He's even made a quote before where he said, where Biden said that for those who vote for me and for those who don't vote for me, I am going to be your president in January. So I'm going to take people along. And I think that is so important because I think right now after COVID, the world needs a healing touch. I think we've been very divided. I think we need to come together as human beings now. And I think Biden's doing that.
Yeah, I think something similar. Even the Prime Minister of New Zealand said that
That's true.
in her victory speech. I mean, that's so great. So now tell me about your spending time in the news channels, right? I mean, you spend a lot of time there because you're there on almost every debate. Uh,
Yeah.
so since how long have you been doing this, doing news debates? How many years now?
Um, I think it's been about 2010, 11, 9 years now. And obviously, the last 4, 5 years have been absolutely regular, almost every day. And it's something I really, really, really enjoy. Do I believe we can reduce the toxicity and the negativity? It's something I enjoy doing. It's something I love doing.
So actually, you partly answered my next question. So my next question was going to be, how has news evolved or changed from the time you were doing it till today to today?
Like the rest of the country, I believe it's regressing. I think we a lot of times discuss non-issues. I think that's not needed. I think there's a lot of division in certain channels that looks to demonize certain group of people, whether it was Bollywood at one point or other group of people, religious or otherwise. There is hate being legitimized in certain sectors, but I also think that there is hope because people are voicing their opinion. I think that that is also now beginning to change.
I've been part of the news business for
You
a
have.
long time, and a long time, and I actually feel sad with what's happening. I mean, I wouldn't paint everybody with the same brush, but yeah, I
True.
feel sad the way uh, it's been polarized. It's completely polarized now. I mean, it's no longer. I think, and also a lot of entertainment now than
That's true.
actual news, real news. Yeah.
A lot
So
of lies, a lot of lies, Raj, a lot of hate, deliberate lies, a lot of misrepresentation, a lot of innuendos. I think that can be done away with. You've been part of the industry. I think the primary job of media is to question government. I think when media starts questioning the opposition, I think it's not healthy. I would never take away their freedom of speech. I would never go to the extent of saying they must be censored, but I think they should wonder what they're doing.
good, you said that you just mentioned freedom of speech. So, what is your view of freedom of speech?
So it's slightly so I believe freedom of speech is absolute. However, freedom of speech does not include the right to yell fire in an auditorium and cause a stampede if there is no fire. Um, I cannot claim that it's my right to swing my stick and it hurts somebody. So while it's and you know the country that has the most liberal freedom of speech is America. It's in their First Amendment, but even they are defined by defamation laws. So while I'm all for freedom of speech, I think there must not be deliberate malicious targeting or wolf whistles. We've seen examples of Rwanda, what happened. We've seen several other examples, and I think we need to be careful there. Again, it's not for government to step in, not for judiciary to step in. I think media must self-regulate.
Media must self-regulate. Unfortunately, they are not doing this, and
Yeah.
it it may happen that it will need an outside intervention, and that will be very sad. That will be very sad.
That'll be unfortunate because that will always be misused, Raj. That'll always, and that won't stop at news. That'll then happen to movies, to your OTT, your OTT content that is being made. And once that happens, India will not be the powerhouse of information and content that it is becoming today. That must not happen. There must not be outside regulation. Therefore, it is important that these guys get together and self-regulate.
Yeah, I think today I just again read that on OTT. I think there is a notice or something that's gone asking for opinion on what the regulation is going to be on OTT.
Yeah, can you imagine a bunch of people who have nothing to do with creativity will now be regulating OTT content? And where does that end? What is OTT? Is it just Netflix, for example, or is it just your show, or is it even Twitter? Because your show is also in a sense OTT. So now, who is going to regulate it? What defines right and wrong? So I think this must not happen, and therefore there must be self-regulation. It's a very dangerous area.
So, since you spend a lot of time with news, you understand it. So you have the time in the studios. I mean, not now. Otherwise, so if you had to say, uh, there must be some checks and balances that we need to bring in
Yeah,
without obviously curtailing freedom of speech. I'm completely against any kind of censorship or any kind of regulation. I'm all for freedom of speech. I think as long
yeah,
as I physically don't hurt you,
yeah,
and I'm intentionally not running something malicious campaign, for
yeah,
that there could be defamation laws. But other than that, I think you should, because when I was in New York, I went and watched a play, The Book of Mormon. I don't know
yeah,
whether you watched it. I mean, if there's that kind of a play, and they and it's if in India it would, you'd have had a sedition case on hurting religious sentiments.
that's
So
true.
yeah. So what if you suppose tomorrow? I mean, you were given that magic wand to say we need to bring checks and balances in the news business without bringing any kind of a law or any kind of regulation, because they are not self-regulating themselves, but some checks and balances. What are those few things that you would recommend?
So there are two things I would recommend very, very strongly. Number one, I would give the news broadcasters, because we're talking about news here, News Broadcasters Association, legal powers to act, but the body would have no government representation. It'd just be their own body, which of course decide by their own majority or their own way of working. But by giving it quasi legal structure or quasi judicial powers, it will enable them to work. And thereby, when they start fining people, I'm not in favor of jailing people, but when they start fining or taking action against people, or even giving them a slight rap on the knuckles, when it's done by quasi judicial body, I think the audience will take notice of it and realize what is content that is correct and content that is not required. So for somebody spreading hate, if you have a rap on the knuckles, I think then the audiences sort of move away, the advertisers move away, because all of this works on the advertising. Ultimately they require advertisers, and the minute advertisers move away, I think that's a lot of pressure. The second thing that I would do, which is again very important, is getting a more transparent barometer to measure who's watching what. At the moment, I don't think that's very transparent in terms of English news channels.
Yeah, because the sample size is so small that
Yeah.
few homes you change and everything can change.
10, 10, Raj, 10 to 12.
Yeah, I mean, I've been part of this industry, so I know.
You know it more than anybody else.
But having said that, and I must say again, being part of the industry, I would never question the integrity of the industry body or the thing that people do things. But then, yeah, but the fact is that nothing is tamper proof, and everything. If you want to do things, you will do things.
That's true.
So again, my question to you is, one of the things I've noticed, and I asked this question to another dear friend of mine who had come on the show. Why do people go on the show and when sometimes the anchors insult them?
So I don't go on that particular show. Um, but and I think that's a question that those who go must ask. But since I'll share with you, I put my terms and conditions very clear on when I'm going on to a show, that I should be allowed to speak, and if I'm not allowed to speak, I walk out of the show, because I can understand that the channel has a particular line or the anchor may have a particular belief, but if I'm not being allowed to voice my opinion, I'll walk out of it. Of course, sometimes it does happen that you're not, but by and large, they don't stop me. So I make it abundantly clear to the coordinators and in writing.
And you're also a social activist. I see that anytime something happens, you're there filing something in the Supreme Court, or at the forefront of things. So
Yeah.
where does all this come from? I mean, is it again the lineage, your family, and things like that?
Yeah, injustice bothers me. It started with Mumbai, to be honest, and it started when there was a Congress government. There was this inspector, ACP called Dhoble in Mumbai. He's now retired. Who was model policing, and he would catch random women at bars, random normal women, and parade them and say that they are sex workers. And there's this whole moral policing thing going on in Mumbai. And he would go with a hockey stick, beating people up, shutting bars down. So I went to the National Human Rights Commission against that. Then I went to court, and ultimately this police officer was transferred. Um, for me, that's where my activism started. I was fighting that there should not be illegal hoardings in Pune. Again, I went to court and I won. So that's where it started, and since then I've just been sort of involved with activism.
But that takes a lot of time and resources, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of sometimes tears, pain, because people, because there's so many people that you're upsetting. There's so many people who are angry with you. There's so many people who are politically involved. So it takes a lot of time, resources, hard work, and tears. Let me repeat, it takes a lot of tears to fight the system.
Yeah, and that's true of any system that you want to take on, especially anywhere. I mean, anywhere in the world. But that's reality. When you're fighting for justice, there is I mean, you have to live with the. What do you say? You have to go through the trouble.
You have
So
to.
yeah. So tell me, what is the life in the day of Tehseen Poonawala?
I wake up at 4 daily. 4 to 5 I meditate. Then 5 I again sleep till about 6:30, quarter to 7 when I'm out of bed. Then I'm either working out or I just do my swim. Then I again spend about another half an hour meditating before I start for the day. During the day, I'm obviously working. I have my meetings. Now most of them are online, trying to figure out what to do work wise. In between my meetings, I do all my reading for the day, catch up on the news to update myself. And by evening, I know what TV channels I'm going to be on, what the topics for the evening are. And now I have the experience that this is going to be the topic. So I have a couple of people who help me with research. They give me the research. And then I start doing my research in the evening till I finish my TV shows. Night is what I do. I try and spend time with my family, with if I'm in Delhi, Pune, however, or go out.
So what time do you sleep?
There's no time that I sleep. If I'm not nowadays, of course, there's less. You go out less about 11:30, 12. Otherwise, whenever I sleep. But I'm up at 4. It doesn't matter what time I sleep. My body clock is such that 4 I wake up. In fact, I have to share this with you. And this is interesting. So I got into trouble in Big Boss because this, season 13 was in Mumbai, right? So my body clock wakes up 4:15. So 4:15, even in Big Boss, I was waking up. Now you don't know the time in Big Boss, but I would know that I'm waking up at 4:15. And when I would go in the garden, eventually in about half an hour, whatever, I would hear the azan. Now because this was in Mumbai, there was a mosque nearby, so I would know it's 5 o'clock. So ultimately, I started telling everybody the time till I was called inside the confession room and given taken to task that please stop giving the time out.
Don't blame me, but I'm going to ask you this question again. What
Yeah.
made you go into the Big Boss house?
You are the first person I called. The absolute first phone call when I got a call from the Big Boss boys. You were the first call I made too. The second was Ekta. You were the first guy I called. Before I even called Monica, I called. I said, Raj, can you check if this is genuine? You know it. And then I asked you, should I go or no? And you told me go. And honestly, Raj, I'm very grateful to Viacom, to Abhishek, to everybody, to the entire Viacom team, Colors, to Endemol, and of course to you. It was an amazing experience. I think it was wonderful for me. I really do think so. I have no regrets.
So what is it that you learned, unlearned in the Big Boss house? Tell us all about it.
What I learned is something I knew that I couldn't do tamashas, which is why I got kicked out in the first week. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do the tamasha and stretch the issue. But what I also learned is I think I made a lot of friends, and I with those who were there in that season, or at least with me. And what I also learned was how important it is that when you're away from all your gadgets and from everything, how people can get excited. And I was very proud that I was able to sort of be in balance and not crave anything. So Siddharth, who won the season, would keep asking me, because I eat only once a day, how come you're not hungry, how come you don't want to eat so much? So those things didn't excite me, and I think I was very happy about that.
Nice. In fact, I always have a tough time. Of course, now I'm no longer there, but I used to have tough time telling people that it's a real live show. It's not scripted. And why don't you come?
It's
I can
not.
take it to you. But now, at least you're
No,
speaking
it's
about.
not. I want everybody to know, not a millimeter is scripted. Of course, the show is created in such a way that it brings out the best or the worst in you, but that's content. Nothing is scripted about that show. Nothing. Everything that you see is how it is. And I find it very upsetting when people blame Viacom or Endemol or Colors for what's happening, because what's coming out is who you are as a person. They aren't asking you to say the words that you're saying. They're not asking you to fight. They're not asking you to abuse. You're the one doing it. They may create the situation. It's upon you how you deal with it. So I think that nothing in that is scripted. And that's something Reggae also taught me a lot.
In one of the earliest seasons, my daughter was young, and she told me she was. In fact, one thing I've done is I've created monsters in my house. Never watched Big Boss, but after I joined Colors, they started watching Big Boss, and now the hardcore fanatics they sit and watch. And one of the years, I remember my daughter telling me, I mean, there were two almost finalists, and I want you to make this person win. I said, I can't make this person win. She said, but what's the point of being the CEO?
But how's she doing? How's married life treating her?
Oh, she's fine. She's fine. They are touched. They've got two
Yeah.
dogs, and
Wow.
she's got hands full. But they are living it up. They typical American life.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Those pictures were so beautiful. The ones that you had posted.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sad that after that we haven't been able to go visit them. But that's hopefully when all this is over, we'll make a
Yeah.
trip.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm switching gears from Big Boss, and I just
Yeah.
want to know. So what do you do? To when you say meditate, what exactly do you do? Because that's something I've been wanting to do,
Yeah.
and I've been very inspired now with Shilpa telling me. After my Shilpa's
Yeah.
live chat, I started doing yoga. At least I do at least 10 Surya Namaskars to start with. I start.
Fantastic.
I've started with that, and hopefully I'll make it a
Yeah.
practice and build on it. So tell me, meditation is something I've never been able to do. So can you tell me what do you do when you meditate?
So two things. First of all, Shilpa is so inspirational. I mean, I saw that show with you, the live with you, and overall, I mean, she's such an inspiration, and she's taken, everybody's taking fitness so seriously because of her, and that's kudos to her. What I do with meditation is very simple. I don't have rules. I think we try to tie ourselves too much in rules. Meditation is agnostic, atheistic. It's got nothing to do with God. So I have a couple of meditation techniques. I let whatever thought come to my mind. The 4 o'clock meditation, I'm just thinking about how I want my day to plan out. And whatever thoughts come to my mind, how I want. And I try and see various scenarios, how it will fit out for me, whether it is morally correct, whether it is correct what I'm doing. So I try and place myself in different scenarios with different barometers, living those scenarios. The 7-7-15 meditation that I do is more of a technique of breathing. So it's Vipassana. I did 2 courses of Vipassana. So I'm sort of following my breath, seeing where my breath takes me. Again, I let any thought come in. I don't restrict thoughts. It could be as diverse. It could be something from Big Boss to President Trump. I don't restrict my thoughts, but the focus is on my breath. I am trying to focus on my breath, what I'm taking in, what I'm exhaling, and then with those thoughts, with that breath, I let the thoughts flow, and I just let it come in. I feel it's a very pure part of me.
And how long do you do that? The second where you do your
The 7 o'clock meditation. So 7 o'clock meditation is about 20, 25 minutes, 15 minutes. There's no really time. Like I said, there are no rules. It is as long as I'm focusing on my breath and I can focus. It is the only rule in the second meditation is absolute silence. I do not talk. Another rule that I follow is 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. When I wake up, I don't 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. I don't touch my mobile till then. The two things I don't do. So I don't see my mobile. I don't distract myself with the outside world. It's just my personal space, my personal time. It's pure for me. That's the only two rules that I follow in that sense. There's no electronic pollution.
God?
Yeah, but
I'm
7 o'clock there's no talking. 7 o'clock it's absolute no talking. So even if suppose the house staff is up or they come, now they know not to disturb. Like I will not talk. It's not even isharo se bhi baat nahi karuga. I just don't react. It's just about my breath. I'm trying to look inwards. It's called Vipassana. Goenka ji. It was a Goenka ji course.
Yeah, I know about Vipassana, but I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
try this. I'm going to try this. I mean, let my thoughts and do some breathing in the morning.
that's true.
So what do you do to relax? I mean, besides your meditation, what do you do? I mean, do you watch movies? Do you read books? I mean, what is your typical relaxation? You told me you were a party animal that you've established right at
Yeah.
the beginning. Now that you can't go and party,
Who says I'm not partying? Of course I'm partying, but I party with only two people. We're getting COVID test done, but no, I'm just joking. So two things that I do for relaxation is I like to read a lot. I read anything and everything as long as it's not fiction. So I love getting my hands on any reading material that I can. And the other thing that I do to relax is I sort of listen to music.
and any favorites when it comes to
So
music?
I'm completely crazy about EDM. But recently, over the last 2 years, I've developed a taste for Indian music, particularly Indian film music and old film music, and I'm loving it. I just love the innocence of the old Indian film music. I just think there's so much of purity and so much of soul in that music. It's just amazing. In fact, just now while I was heading back home in the car, I was listening to Ye Hai Mumbai Meri Jaan, and these songs have so much of depth to it. I love it.
I don't know whether it's with me or my old age, but somehow I feel that old songs had a lot of the lyrics were very strong, and I
Yeah,
don't know. Maybe we feel that way. The next generation feels another way. I don't know. But somehow I felt that some of the songs that you just mentioned, one, but plenty of songs, whether it was Rafi Saab or
yeah,
Mukesh or Nade or whoever it was, and
yeah.
the lyrics were very, very meaningful. There were, there was a lot of meaning to it.
That's true for me, and that therefore I find that because EDM is not about music. It's not about lyrics. It's just about the music by and large. And suddenly now, from this hardcore EDM guy, I'm craving songs that have so much of meaning and depth to it. And for me, I think that's even some of the older English songs, Elton John, etc. I'm just listening to the words and they're just amazing. Michael Jackson, some of these earlier compositions. There's so much of depth to those songs. It's just amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm used to Engelbert and Cliff Richards.
That's true. Cliff Richards. I mean, the amount of I read somewhere Asha Bhosle said it's very easy to write tough lyrics. It's very tough to write simple lyrics. I don't recollect where I heard her saying this, but I do recollect Asha ji saying this, and I think that now holds true. I can understand what she said then. I heard this somewhere as a child.
So, do you play any instruments or something?
No, my musical talent is as bad as anybody else's. I don't play any musical instrument and I can't sing.
No, I'm not going to make you sing. Don't worry.
So, I have to tell your viewers what I should do is I should go to the karaoke bar. This was not just Jazz by the Way, which was in Mumbai. So, the Pune franchisee was owned by a friend of mine. And we used to go and sing there. But I'm a bad singer. So, I would only lip sync while the other people would sing and sound like I'm this professional singer. One day, they realized that I'm doing this, and my friend stopped singing, and suddenly I'm holding the mic, lip syncing. Words are all I have to take your heart away, and I'm only lip syncing, and the entire karaoke bar was laughing.
Yeah, but Just by the Bay used to be a great place. Every time, those days I used to live in Delhi. I used to come to Bombay. I used to stay at the Oberoi's,
Yeah,
and it was a must visit for me. Every visit when I was there. There was one
that's
Jazz
true.
by the Bay, and then there used to be a place in opposite Bombay House called Just Desserts. I don't know whether you
That's
remember.
true. I
Yeah,
do.
late night people used to go sit on their cars, on top of the cars, and that's some of, and it was really amazing desserts. I mean, way
That's
ahead of,
true.
but that was all in the past.
Wasn't it
So
simpler then?
much simpler. Life was much simpler and much more fun. But somehow, but it's not
Yeah,
just India. It's the world has changed, and that's
that's
a reality.
true. That's
So
true.
before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one question since you're a political analyst. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I don't want it to be a very complex answer, simple answer. So who do you think is going to win in the Bihar elections? What's the most
Tejasvi, Tejasvi Yadav is the next chief minister of Bihar. No doubt about it.
okay? And if what you say comes true, then we'll say you heard it first on Friday's Live with Raj Nayak. Okay.
Absolutely, which is not a political show, but we made it political.
No, it's not. Just because uh, as a citizen, I'm interested in what's happening in my country, and if I have a political analyst on my live chat, then it would not be. I would be missing an opportunity of not asking you this question. Tehseen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Raj.
You've been an excellent, excellent guest. I really enjoyed this chat with you. Because
Thank
it's
you.
a show, I had to restrain myself in asking you or putting you on a spot. But I know you would speak. But it was good. It was lovely chatting to you. Lovely getting to know you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for making the time to
Thank
being.
you. And thank you. And please give my regards to your family, especially your children. Give them a lot of my love. And the two dogs, give them a lot of tail wags and hugs from Hachi and Miyaki.
I will do. I will do. And same
Thank
to
you.
Monica and rest of the family. Take
Thanks,
care.
Raj. See you. See you soon. Take
Take
care.
care.